me tell you a story about a guy named Socrates. Okay, so Socrates feared the emotional power of the written word and that it was going to spread really far and that we would have an overstimulated population of people all receiving the same thoughts. And that was apparently really scary. And so that's kind of similar to McLuhan's Global Village, in where first of all, McLuhan is that guy who thinks he's so smart because he's like, the message is not important, it's the medium that's important. And yeah, I guess to an extent, but he thinks that the global village is a place where we're all getting the same homogenous thoughts. So anyway, back to Socrates. For a guy that you think is very philosophical, he really feared this thing. And so he didn't want that. And this is where that whole tech and debate thing started. And so we're now sharing things at a peak rate of speed. Okay? That's what Livingstone says. I don't know, some article I read. So then we get to Walther, who is asking the very important question of 1996. Can the internet be interpersonal, or is it impersonal? And that's when they find out that you can actually talk and create a persona of yourself through the internet, which they didn't think was possible without face-to-face. But now I think that's kind of a given. But in 1996, that was probably a really big revelation. And now there's also Campbell Ling saying that relationships evolve because of the internet and mobile media. Like, we're talking at a greater rate of speed than ever before. And according to Toger et al., we're creating a society, a global society, in which we are dependent on mobile media. And because of mobile media, we are seeing our tech become a status symbol for our society, and it is now the primary way of communication in the sense that we almost need a detox, because we're relying on this as kind of our companion in life, similar to how I'm utilizing this piece of communication right now. So Socrates would have you believe that the written word was to fear, but really people just feared movies in general, and that came about more so with the 30s Red Scare, and then really just motion pictures coming out around that time. There was a Payne study that was trying to analyze the social psychological effect of violence in movies and what it was doing to our children. Please think of the children. And then there was the analysis of persuasion techniques in World War II. And in World War II, we were looking for the psychological effects of these sorts of things. And then the Rockefeller Foundation got involved and tried to analyze the effects of radio. And that was 1940, and around that time came Caswell's model of communication, which is who said what to whom and with what effect. And then that is basically led the entire empirical study of media up until now. So to make this guy McLuhan happy, basically the way media research has changed is that we are not really looking at the content of things anymore. Like, we don't care about the radio effects. We don't really care that the radio is for the low educated and the low income. But we're mostly looking at the effect of the medium utilized, because really every medium is just overtaking another medium. And so we're looking at how this creates, I don't know, some sort of problem with our community, how tech is controlling our world. Like, I guess now if we wanted to apply it, we could say something about mobile media and mobile media. So you might be wondering how the medium has changed theories throughout the years. How have we theorized communication over the years? Well, I mean, we started with persuasion and social context and societal, and then we went on to interpretive, which is, about agenda setting. But I think we're now in a user-generated sort of era, where we're analyzing really the new media and the medium in which it is being communicated. So the media is more of a mediator for reality, which I think McLuhan would agree with, even though he is the medium as the message guy. I think he would agree quite a lot with the medium theory, which is stating that, everything is a shared culture, which maybe... No, well, Carey is the ritualistic guy. He's the guy who thinks we're extending beyond the local. Well, actually, no, that sounds a lot like McLuhan. So maybe Carrie and McLuhan would get along pretty well. You also might be wondering what the effects of new media are. Like, what are the strengths? What are the things that are bad that we shouldn't look forward to? What ways is it good? Well, for one, it's just different. Mobile media is, well, it's mobile. You know, we don't have to be anchored by space and time anymore. We are doing stuff like this where I can just talk to something and communicate to someone, not live in the moment necessarily, but that goes along with the asynchronous nature. You can reply to emails or chats or do meetings from different places synchronously or asynchronously. Communication is not bound by anything, which means that we are having much more frequent communication than ever before, because usually it's like a phone call, it's long distance, you're talking for a long period of time, but now you can have them shorter and more infrequent, which is keeping people in contact as much as ever before. But the thing with asynchronous nature especially is that you're creating sort of a fake persona of yourself, because you don't have to be in the moment necessarily. So you can craft whatever you want people to think of you. But is that a good thing? Don't you want people to kind of get the best version of you? I mean, if they're going to wait a while, they might as well get the best version of you. And then we don't even have to really go into the whole thing about online avatars and cyber worlds and all the trolls and harassment that brings forth. Because, you know, there's always going to be those. And it's crazy how this is sort of a tangent, but it's also kind of related, how we're in a technologically advanced world, and yet we are not in a post-racial world, and we are still not really knowing what to do as far as feminine values. According to this Livingstone person, we are inherently more democratic because we can be both receivers and senders of communication. But also, does everyone have equal internet access? Are people actually participating at a rate that we could call the internet a democracy?